Enjoy a seat at the table and good company, where great conversations and meaningful discussions happen.
I'm Sarah Fiedelholtz. We all know that a dinner party that's great isn't really about the food. It's about the people sitting around the table engaging in lively discussions. And Good Company creates a way to capture smart and important conversations as they happen. I am pleased to be in the company of Sheila Curry-Campbell, who is the Allen County Council member for District 1. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Regina Jones, who ran for Fort Wayne Community School Board for District 2. Welcome. And Sharon Tucker, who is the City of Fort Wayne Councilwoman from the 6th District. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
So tonight we're doing our table is a little different than our typical round table because we really wanted to have an opportunity to have a very compelling conversation with you all. And it was sparked by my speaking with Regina after her defeat for running for Fort Wayne Community School for District 2. And Regina pointed out to me some of the difficulties that people of color face when they decide to run for office, especially in different districts. And also emphasize that on top of not only the issues that people of color have, that also there are even more issues and challenges that Black women face. So I wanted to bring these issues to the forefront, as I think it's important to discuss, considering the state of our political system, racism, the roadblocks we face if we want to truly have a diverse and inclusive representation. And we want to make sure that we get all people engaged and involved, not only in our local government, but also on the state and federal level. So one of the things that really surprised me as I went down the rabbit hole to sort of start researching is that there absolutely is an inherent double standard when it comes to women running for office, but there seems to be a triple standard when it comes to Black women running for office. So I wanted to first understand, in all of your positions and certainly in your run, where do you think race plays a role in you being a candidate? Sheila, you're smiling?
I'm smiling. Yeah, I am.
And why is that?
It's a unique question. I guess I think everybody knows I'm Black.
Right.
I don't think I need to tell anyone that I'm Black.
Right.
So I'm really I'm not clear on the question. What do you mean?
Well, do you think that that there is an idea that you are up against or face different issues and challenges as a Black woman running for office versus a white woman running for office?
Just going to the store.
Meaning?
Deal with the same issues.
Okay.
Race.
Okay.
Going to the store, going to a restaurant, running for office, I guess that could be one of them also, yeah.
Okay, so explain to me what you feel and what you mean by when you go to the store or...
I think right now our current president have given people permission to take advantage of white privilege, unconscious bias, and it happens on a regular basis, not only in politics, but just going to the store.
Okay, so does that mean that in the case that you all have both succeeded and been successful in running for office and being elected, so how did you get there, considering all that you have to overcome on a day-to-day basis?
How did I get there?
I mean, do you feel that you have certain skills or abilities that...
Well, let me jump in a little bit, and I'll kind of take it back to your original question. Like, is there inherent bias or difference for African American women of color when running for office? And absolutely, the answer is yes. The bias comes into, first of all, the belief that we as Black women would have the audacity to even run for office. That's the first hurdle that we have to overcome. The second hurdle that we have to overcome are some of the norms that women face, but then Black women face them even greatly. the ability to be able to raise money,
Okay.
the ability to be able to be heard and to be taken serious when we present issues. A lot of times also when African American women run for office, we are running with the full load of our family burden on us. There are a lot of times in a lot of households where the African American mom seems to be the breadwinner and has to carry that total weight along with running for office. So that adds a little bit additional burden to the responsibilities that she has. And I'll give you an example. When I was running my very first time for county council at large, a very dear friend of mine came up to me and he's like, well, if you're running, who's going to watch your daughter while you're out here doing all this stuff? And at that time, my daughter was probably about 7 or 8 years old. And I just kind of looked at him a little taken back, because that's a question that no man is ever presented with.
Right.
And so my answer to him was the same people who watching the men's kids at home, my spouse or my parents, whichever way it goes. So it's those things that women face, but then Black women especially face when they have to go through running for office. Because if you look at the hierarchy of the household, especially for those of us that are reared in Christianity,
Okay.
the man is the head of the household, and the wife, right, the female model, is expected to stay at home and do wifely duties, right? Raise the kids, make sure the house is clean. When we say that we want to go out and go into a position of power or powerful roles, that takes us out of what we have been raised as African American people and the hierarchy of how things go. And so there are challenges when you look at it both from our own family and then from those who are on the outside facing us. So it's a difficult path that we have to weave.
Okay, and then you did bring up some other issues that I want to unpack a little bit separately. But Regina, when you decided to run and want to, what was the reaction of your spouse, and how did that fit into this idea of the hierarchy of the family?
Well, anything I do, my husband support me 100%. So that was not a factor in me running. I said I was running, and he said, "Baby, I got you." So
Look, I'm running.
yes, yes.
And one of the things that is interesting also to note is that, Sheila, you actually originally took Sharon's place on the Allen County Council when you became a councilwoman. And one of the things, though, that I found very interesting about is the idea of you're an at-large councilwoman, and the idea of, is it easier for women or Black women to run for at-large seats versus specifically in a specific district?
So I'm a district seat.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
actually
right, you're
a
District 6. That's
seat,
right. That's right.
Councilwoman Chambers, who is unable to be here tonight because she is currently with her mom at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So she's an at-large candidate, and I've run at large. I've run county 1st district, and then I've run 6th district. There is absolutely a difference in the three. As far as how people perceive you.
Okay.
But there is no difference in your character that you deliver.
Okay. All right. Regina, you were saying that you believe that there is a difference.
I think it is a difference, especially when it's primarily Caucasians in that district and
Zip code.
Republicans
Let's
in
talk
that
about
district
zip
as
code,
well.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So my run, overall it was good.
You
but
were in District 2,
I was in District 2.
which is primarily a very white zip code, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
And even though I've been in that district for 25 years, I think race definitely played a role. I also felt like being that I was Black, I think whites tend to vote for whites and Black tends to vote for Blacks. A lot of doors I knocked on, they wanted to know if I was a Republican, if I was a Republican or a Democrat. So I think that played a role in it as well. So it definitely plays a difference.
Well, I think also what they also found in general is that Black African Americans in general do better in territories that are a majority minority voter electorate. That's the first thing. And they actually also found that you are able to be more successful in your runs if you are not facing an incumbent, if it's an open seat. And you're agreeing with that. Why do you think, I mean, what they're saying is that because most of the time the incumbent is a white male.
Right.
So what is your feeling about that?
Well, I've never had the privilege of running against a white male, but I can say for incumbents as a whole, it's hard to unseat someone when they've been elected. It's hard to unseat them unless they have done some really egregious things or just have really failed the community as a whole.
Right.
I've run against an African American man, and I caught a lot of flack from African American men from running against a man, but I've never ran against a non-African American person.
But we should also make the point that you and Michelle are the first, I mean, in 2019, right? The first ran, and then started in 2020, the first African American women on Fort Wayne City Council. So it's taken us quite a bit to get there. And then obviously you were on the county council. How does that play out with the county council versus if you have an incumbent, or what district you're in, or?
Yeah, I'm getting a wink from Sharon, which means I need to be good.
Well, I don't want her to be too good. Come on. We're having I want you to be honest, and
I'm getting the wink from Sharon. She's not able to pinch me, so I guess she's winking to me to tell me to be good. And so when you say that, I spoke about zip codes. I think zip codes has a lot to do with it. Districts, redistricting. That's where we're at right now. We just did the census.
Right,
so
we're all waiting to see.
That's where we're at right now. I don't think a lot of people, our constituents, understand what the districts are. I'm in 03, 06, I'm in the 1st district, so I have a better opportunity because there's more people in that space that look like me.
Okay.
Versus where you're at, Cherry Hill, that zip code, where there's not as many people that look like us. And so that's your first barrier, is who you're representing and those zip codes. Okay. So I guess I'm just hoping and that people will understand that we really want to pick the best person for the seat versus someone that don't look like them.
Right.
Because I really felt like you was the best person for the seat. But unfortunately, you didn't look like the people that you represented. So I just wanted to say that.
I think there's a lot of challenges.
God, yes.
From fundraising,
money.
Well, definitely.
Yeah. So money has come up several times, and so let's unpack the financial issue. And absolutely, it is an issue across the board for women. Okay, but it is been seen, and that you really saw it in this round of elections, and right after the 2016 election, that a lot more of the organizations that were designed to help women, like Emily's List and the American Women Political Office, that they did try to put a lot more assistance in for the fundraising issue. But it is known that women, partly it's because they sort of parallel it to the fact that white women make 83 cents to the dollar of every white male, and African American women make 63 cents to the dollar of white males, and that also correlates partly to the raising of money. So let's start there. I mean, from that issue alone, is that makes raising money difficult?
I actually, I know historically, fundraising is a big problem. But for me, my first run, I think we did pretty well. You know, I started running and raising money 2.5 months before election. And to raise almost $9,000 within 2.5 months, I think that was fairly good for a school board candidate. But overall, when I did my research, fundraising is always a big issue along with organizing as well.
Right.
That is definitely a big
Right.
issue.
And so one of the issues, though, that, partly I think maybe it's a women's issue, we talk about the double standard versus the triple standard, is that women do have a problem asking for money. And so part of women have to learn that they're not asking for money for them, they're asking money for their agenda and what they're going to do. And but how is it, what's the challenge of being Black women in the community asking for money? How is that?
First, you have to convince the individuals that you're asking for financial support to believe in your mission and to believe in you, which requires them to have to believe that you have the ability to win. And so that's your hurdle right there. If all of the things that we've talked about leading up to this portion right now, if they don't believe you can win, it's going to be hard to get them to give you the large contributions, right? You're always able to get small, minor amounts from people, but can you get the $1,000, the $5,000 contribution? And that has to be from individuals who believe you can win. Once you move past those family sphere of individuals to donate, now it's time to get into the corporate dollars, and corporations have those same barriers. Is this individual able to win? Will we just be throwing our money down a hole? And so it makes the challenge even more. Even if you aren't afraid of asking for that money, the challenge to be able to gather and garner those dollars are definitely greater for women and African American women.
And what, let's just back up a second so that and sort of understand why is finance so important when running for office, on the, because people would think obviously on the national level, on the state level, but on a local level, why is that so important? And, what do you?
Well, I think it's important because, there's so many things that you need to do. You need to do your mailers, you need to do advertising, your marketing. So, a lot of people don't understand that part, but I think when you're forming your team, getting your folks together, having your agenda, being very specific, being intentional with the ask, I think that kind of breaks down a lot of the barriers. Knowing who's on your team that can bring in the dollars, who can support you, who has your vision, and like you say, knowing that you're going to win. Who is it that's going to support you and throw those dollars at you saying, yes, Sheila, I will continue to support you in your re-election for 2022. So
I think it's a whole education thing, right?
Oh, definitely.
Because a lot of people think that when they give you that money, you can do whatever you want with those funds.
Right.
And you cannot. Right. You're under a restriction. As a matter of fact, next week we have to do our annual report for the money that we've raised throughout the year. But fundraising and having a healthy campaign chest is the only means that you have to be able to get your message distributed to the community. It is impossible for us as a candidate to be able to attend every roundtable, to be able to attend every meeting, to go to every neighborhood association. And the only means that we have to be able to help share that message is by meeting people in their homes. And that's by mailers at the door, commercials, and all of those come with great big price tags, because being an elected official or being a candidate that runs, they don't give you a discount in order to be able to do it.
Right.
And so if it costs $250 for a 30-second commercial to run on Wayne TV, and you want that commercial to run 10 times, you need money to be able to do that. And so that's why raising money becomes extremely important to be able to help get your message out and why you are the better candidate to serve.
And now, did any of you take any of the classes or courses about women running for office, or any of the things that are presented about how to, define your issues? Or did you look for any coaching or mentorship in the process, or did you just baptism by fire?
I took a course, but I had also worked with Councilman Tucker and Sheila, as well as Michelle. So yes.
And they say that
and I did my research.
And that's also where they say that it's because of the fact that a lot of state legislature started on the local level, But even before you even run, it's probably good to work on campaigns so that you can learn what you should do and definitely what you shouldn't do. So did you all work on other campaigns or?
No, I didn't either. For me, it was actually interesting how I got into it, because I was interviewing a young man for a job, ended up hiring him, and my open door policy, he was just coming in to talk to me. I was telling him some of the things that I'd always desired to do and how to get involved in community. He'd walked out, didn't think anything else about it. Probably about 2 months later, he came back down and he says, "You ever think about running for office?" And I said, "Yeah, I've thought about it, but and he says, "I'm the party chair. If you're interested in running, I'll help you." And so it was a white man that opened the door for me, who saw a value in me to be able to run. And because he had run campaigns and because he had been involved in St. Joe Township and Cook County politics, he took me under his wings and gave me a great mentorship. He did give me a lot of books to read and I was open to his tutelage. Okay. That's the main thing. You have to be open to tutelage. If you start to think that you know all the answers and that you know the community that you're running for, you will find yourself highly disappointed, right? Okay. And so his help, the knowledge that I was able to garner from him and from other people who were willing to ask me questions or answer questions that I had to ask, that led me forward. And for me, I personally didn't want another person to have to go through that, because there were moments where I felt alone as a woman because he couldn't relate to some of the things that I had going on. I personally decided that I wouldn't do that to another lady. And so whenever there is a lady that's involved in politics and they reach out to me, I open myself up to be able to help them. But I also tell them I'm only able to give you what you want. If you don't invite me to the conversation, I'm not going to invite myself to the conversation.
And you pointed out that he was the party chair. So how important is party in on the local level running for office? You mentioned that you felt that it plays a role in how people vote. That they'll just vote the party. Talk about what you meant about that.
My experience is a lot of people in the community is not educated on voting. They will vote straight ticket and not pick other candidates. So I think that educational piece is really extremely important.
Okay, and do you find that party is, they asked you, did they ask you what party? They did ask you, right?
Yeah, they did ask me what party, yes.
And the majority of African American women are Democrat, or vote.
Largest,
right. And actually, they found that 91% of black women voted for Biden in the election, and that was actually 11% higher than African American men. Is there an issue when you are running and you're talking to voters, the response because of the hierarchy, even at black homes, when you are talking to black men about your running for office versus even just, is there any issues or biases there?
I'm always looking for people to run for office.
Okay.
You talked about working in campaigns. I worked on Glenn's campaign. I've worked on Sharon's campaign. I came through the NAACP.
Right.
I was born and raised.
Are you still?
I'm the past president.
Past president.
Past president.
You just passed the baton, right?
I just passed the baton.
Do you have an announcement of who the new president is?
Mr. Larry Gitz. He's one of our past presidents. He ran again, and so he'll be
And are you still going to remain involved with the NAACP?
I'll be the treasurer.
Okay.
I am the treasurer elect. A lot of my education came through the NAACP. Like I say, I was born in it. I've been a card-carrying member as long as I can remember. Goldsby Craig purchased my first membership. But that is one of the national organizations that take educating their members about voting, voter engagement. I was just very fortunate that I've been at the table with several people to know. I kind of pushed Regenia, pushed Melissa, I've pushed a lot of people, and do you want to wink now or later? I've pushed a lot of people into politics because I'm a firm believer, if you're not at the table, you can't make any
Right.
decisions. How do you get to the table? You get on some of these boards, these local boards, you get on some of the local ground level clerk.
Right. But even women who are involved in their PTA, I mean, or in your neighborhood association. I mean,
We
those
just
are
got to
all-
get people to the table.
Right. But you also have to make sure, right, that because one of the issues is it that you're led to think that you can get a seat at the table will help you move the dial. But in some cases, white males are inclined to let not only black women but women know that
They're in
it's not
charge.
their seat
That's right.
and it's not their table.
That's right.
So I mean, you have even that really like I said, when I was going down my rabbit hole of research, I mean, just looking at the issues with women running, and then you add on your additional challenges. It's really they're really and they're very interesting different types of challenges that you face.
So I don't subscribe to Sheila's theory, and
Okay.
that's what I think I love about our friendship, because we agree many times to disagree
Okay.
and work together where we can. I know, and she's very passionate and always speaks out that we always have to have someone at the table. And the reason that I don't subscribe to that, because if we have someone at the table that works against our issues, then it wasn't a benefit for them to be at the table. So I subscribe to, we need to have people at the table who are sensitive and supportive to the
Okay.
issues that we have in hand and that
Okay.
we support. And I know I'm always down for women being at that table. And if
Right.
we can't find a woman that's sensitive to those issues, but we can find a man that will support those issues, then I can get behind that. But there are times where we have catapulted people into positions of authority who we've later found out that they're working against everything we're trying to build. And so although I know my darling friend loves to make sure that we have somebody at the table, I think that we need people at the table who are willing to work toward the issues that we need to address.
But you also just pointed out a very key reason why women are found to do better in roles of leadership. And that's partly the idea of collaborating, you mentioned, and agreeing to disagree, being able to see different points of view, being able to have civil conversation and discourse. And I think that that's also really important in these times to recognize. But there is also the issue about having the right person at the table. And sometimes there is just with women that, they're going to address the women's issues, right? Or they're going to not necessarily focus on the social issues. Or in the case, if you are a black woman, then you may only focus on more social issues that are relevant to one constituency than all constituents. So is that true, do you find?
I got that. I actually had constituents say, what is your black agenda? They actually asked me that.
Right.
And it wasn't no black agenda.
Right. So when you talk about the emphasis of agenda, I think we do have to sort of address that, because there is that idea that, and with, and unfortunately with black women, there is the perception of them being strong and angry black women, although now the big movement, as I was saying to Sheila before, is trust black women, because there is now a big movement of looking at and recognizing that the role that black women have played all along in not only in the Voters Act, but also is particularly seen in this election, because they absolutely they came out in force for Biden, and they absolutely, and in 2016, the majority of black women voted for Hillary, regardless of what they thought of Hillary, but they recognized the issues that we would have had with Trump. So there is now also more of an issue of being able to trust black women, but how do you deal with this idea of what is the agenda?
So I don't want to speak for all black women, but I can tell you, when when many of our counterparts, white women, white men, are sitting at home greatly concerned about Middle East peace,
Okay.
Black women are sitting at home greatly concerned about Pontiac Street peace,
Okay.
right? We're concerned about issues that impact our children and making sure that our young boys can come back home when they go out, and making sure that our daughters are allotted a fair education.
Okay.
And so while we would love to be able to stew over whether or not there was a Iran takeover, we're more worried about making sure that our kids have an opportunity to grab a hold of the American dream that we promised exist for them. And so our issues aren't always parallel.
Okay.
And so when people say that Black women voted for Biden or Black women voted for Hillary, what we're voting for is an opportunity for our kids to succeed.
Okay.
And so if that needs to be an agenda, then I guess we can say that that's the agenda, right? But we're not voting for, many people vote for their pocketbook, right? We're voting for our kids to have an opportunity to come home safely.
Okay.
Especially in today's society. And so the agenda is, I want my kid to live.
Right.
I want my kid to be able to get an education.
Right.
I want my kid to be able to stack back dollars for her graduation and for her retirement without having to work 2 and 3 jobs like her mom does, in order to be able to see that plight that everybody laid out in front of us, that this is the American dream. And so Black women across the world are seeing that if we're going to see the differences that we want to see, we need to rise up. And it has been no secret that if you don't take control, we will, right? We will take control. Right. And so if we have to do it and save the government from itself,
Yeah.
then we
Okay, but I think you brought up I want to unpack 2 things.
Sure.
One is the issue of, granted that, people, especially you saw it when in the Democratic Party, when the campaigning started for this year's election, was when you saw a lot of mayors on the, of interest and bubbling up. And that was partly because people felt that they couldn't get anything done in Washington, so they were really focused local, okay? So, but we do need you not only to be concerned about local issues, we need you to be concerned about state issues and federal issues, because the fact of the matter is some of the dollars for your kids' education, or in the case of a state level, would come from the issue of vouchers, or what percentage, in Indiana, what the tuition, the salaries of teachers are. And then on the federal level, we certainly have to look at what like the Department of Education does, or how they deal with for-profit colleges, and even with student loans and debt for students. I mean, in higher education, that's certainly an issue.
Sarah, that's noble for you to say. Unfortunately, at many times it's a white privilege that many African American people don't get to have. And I'll give you an example, a parallel to think about. If you are hungry and there is nothing for you to eat in your refrigerator, the last thing that you are concerned about, and I don't mean this to be mean, is a young kid in Africa that doesn't have anything to eat, because you right now are facing a real reality. And so when we can fix that real reality for you, that gives you more liberty to be concerned about your neighbor down the street. And so many times that's the challenge. I agree with you that if we can't get our state level fixed and our federal level fixed, that it won't work. But what we do know is that trickle down politics has never worked.
Right.
And Black women see that faster than a lot of other people. And so while Black women are concerned about national issues, it's not anywhere near the degree that they're concerned about the local issues.
Okay.
And so that's why we need a Regenia to run for school board. That's why we need a Sheila Curry-Campbell to be on county. That's why we need Sharon and Michelle on these places where we can have the greatest impact on your local dollar, right?
Right.
That you get an opportunity to see. And then if we can get the change to start rolling, then our eyes are open to greater issues, which would then go state and national.
Okay, so in the terms of the local, there is an issue of getting the turnout for people to vote and to recognize the importance of local elections and local politics. So in your experiences and the turnout, how are we doing in that level? How are we doing in terms of turnout and African American turnout?
We've
I
got a
don't
problem.
think we're not where we used to be.
Exactly.
We still have a long way to go.
Long way.
Okay.
And I am hopeful that we're going to get there. But
Okay.
it's going to take a lot of us, walking those streets, knocking on those doors. It's ongoing.
Right, but here was one of the, you talk about one of the issues where you talk about the challenges. So the issue of the knocking on doors. Like if you can't necessarily in just, in a more affluent community go as a African-American woman, just go knock on doors because someone may call the police on you or wonder why you're there. And so some women in other states have, when they African-American, they bring someone with them.
Someone white with them.
Someone, right.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So even the issue of just going out and knocking on doors is an issue.
It was an issue for me. We did have the police called on us.
You did?
How
many times?
We did 3 times.
3 times, okay.
And unfortunately, one of the times was in my own neighborhood. So that was really, really sad. But it happened. And it's not going to stop anything.
Right. And
so.
how did that make you feel?
When I called Sharon and said I wanted to run, and you said, do you have tough skin? Because this is not a game for a person that do not have tough skin. And I said, oh yeah, I got tough skin. That day I cried. The first time they called the police. And it hurt my feelings. It really, really, it hurt my feelings. And I think it really hurt me because my sister had knocked on her door and she went to give her spiel and the person asked, is she African American or is she Caucasian? And my sister said African American and they said, get off my porch. And 5 minutes later, security was coming, and this was in Cherry Hill.
Okay.
And security came, and security was extremely nice, but he did say it was a no soliciting for Cherry Hill. But
Okay.
again, we're campaigning.
It's a
So-
constant reminder that you're still not there.
Still not
exactly.
there.
It's a
Doesn't matter how much
constant
money, how much education, you're still not there because you're still black.
And it hurt my feelings
it.
in my own neighborhood where we would gather at the entrance and we wasn't blocking anything. And I had the volunteers call and say, hey, there's a guy out here and he's saying that we need to move, and he was harassing. And I was furious. I went to his home and I said, what's the problem? And he said, well, neighbors was calling. They were nervous. And I said, nervous about what? And he said, well, they were just nervous. And I said, about what?
Right.
So just to be hit in the face with racism, I did cry, but I sucked it up and I went back out there the next day.
Right.
And I did tell him, I said, I'm going to be here all month.
But
Until I told you to stop going. You'll lose more votes than you win.
Leave the white people alone.
But do you
Don't
think,
knock
no,
on
no,
their
but do you
door.
think that there is, that people, will be surprised of the fact that, and I'm not saying that it is appropriate in any way, but some of the fears, that this is all based on fear, okay? And some of the fear for African American men, that someone may have in their community or come across, okay? But don't you think it would be surprising to a lot of people that this also happens for African women?
Well, not really.
No?
Because Sarah, when I ran for re-election for county council, which is New Haven, Hoagland, Monroeville, Poe, all of those areas, the thing you have as a candidate running, you have to know your audience.
Okay.
And the hardest conversation that I had to have with my team members and with those that I help is, in New Haven, when we campaign, only the white people can help. In Southeast Fort Wayne, when we're campaigning, the black people can help, and the white people who don't fear black people can help, right? Those are the realities that we have, because if I sent a nice, muscular, well-built African-American man to a young or a senior white lady's house to knock on the door, chances are she won't open that door.
Right.
And so it is more important to me that my message get to her as to why I'm a viable candidate than it is that a black man knock on that door. And so if you're willing to listen only to a white lady tell you about a black woman, then I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to allow her to go. And I'm not going to expose my black man to that hatred.
Okay.
There you go.
And so we have to think about those things when we go. Now, I, as a candidate, I didn't get that luxury. I had to suck it up no matter what, even when I was told to get off my door N-word. Or when they wouldn't, you can see in the house. These were my favorite ones. I can see you sitting on the TV, on the couch watching TV. Your front door is open. I hear you saying we're not, I know you know I'm here, and you will not get up and answer the door. It's just all of those. But the reality is there are differences for us.
So, but what do you think that causes this? I mean,
Oh my God.
what is the fear? Is it the idea that you only are going to support a black agenda? Is it that you can't be a councilwoman for everybody in your community, or understand not only your constituents, but how that impacts also how you vote for overall issues in the city? I mean, certainly on the county level, I mean, I was looking at some of the different issues that you have to address.
Yes. Some of the issues I have to address with county council. Are you winking at me again?
No,
Oh,
I was just going to say one thing before you chime
Go
in. Like,
ahead.
the one thing we know trickles down is hatred.
Yes.
And
deeply
so
rooted.
Okay,
the one
so-
thing we know trickles down is hatred. And
Yes.
so if you have at a national level, at a family level, if you have someone that is injecting hate,
Right.
then that fear
Right.
becomes real to the person.
Right.
And so
And children are not, I mean, they don't naturally hate. I mean, they're taught to hate.
There you go.
So, but do you think also, what's your hope then with Kamala Harris as the vice president? And do you think that's going to, I mean, I know trickle down in a sense. Do you think that?
Well, I want Councilwoman Curry to be able to say what she was going to say because I cut her off. But I will say that the one thing that I try to express greatly when I'm working and talking to candidates, and even myself, I have to remind myself of this. We can't take that rejection personal because they don't know us.
Right.
They've never had a conversation with
Right.
us. They just see the exterior.
Right, but that's also true for women. I mean, like I said again, when we started this, there's the double standard, and now you've got the triple standard, because the fact of the matter is we can't take out our gender. And so sometimes, like, if women are considered, that you might be considered in your campaign that you're too aggressive, men, it demonstrates leadership. So I think that, again, we've got to look at some of the issues all women face. And then some issues are even more on top of that for black women. And what were you going to say about on the county level?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I have my own battles. I pick them, the ones that I want to fight.
Right.
I'm the only Democrat. I'm the only woman. I'm the only black woman. I'm sitting there with 6 other white males.
Right.
I really think that now is the time. Black is right. And that there is a lot of people in Indiana,
Yep.
Fort Wayne,
Yep.
starting with our mayor, that have an opportunity to equal the playing field.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? A lot of people sit in these rooms with all of these board members and they're totally white. They know
Right.
that someone else should be in that seat.
Right.
And so people have to be intentional and saying, we want to diversify.
Okay.
This white privilege must stop. This unconscious bias, I never knew I had it, but now I know.
Okay.
And so we got to be intentional, and we have to be intentional. You have to be intentional, because a lot of people just don't understand. They just assume that because you're black, that this is how you operate, or this is who you are. Regina just went through it.
Right.
She lives out here with these people.
Right.
You
Does
know,
it
they
make
got
you-
the
did you make you
$500,000
wanna
home.
No,
She-
it did not. And I actually, Councilman Tucker she did give me some advice, you know, to pick my battles
Right.
if
Right.
I needed a white person to go to the door.
Period.
But after those 2 incidents, I chose differently.
Okay.
You know, I had been advised when I ran ads not to,
Okay.
you know, run my face.
Right.
I decided not to. I'm black, and I'm gonna be black.
That's it.
So I decided not to do that.
Okay. Is that really true? Are there, like, do you believe that you have to do certain things in your ads?
Oh,
and-
absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't
No,
think so?
well, no, I know from looking at some of the things that the issues that women have to address, like do they show their family or not? Do they want to show that their
Yeah,
mother?
it's just not women. I mean, I think we might be missing the mark. I could be,
Okay.
or
Okay.
maybe, I mean, wink if I'm off here, though. I don't think it's just a woman thing. I think it's a white thing.
Okay.
And like I say, some people have no idea what unconscious bias is.
Right.
I might be speaking to someone that don't understand. So what I'm saying to you is that we have to be intentional, and we is you.
Right.
Well,
You got to be intentional.
Okay.
here's the let me explain the advice behind
The
what we
campaign-
shared
yeah.
with Regina and
Yeah.
the campaign information
Okay.
and whether or not you take it or don't take it. The question is do you want to win?
Okay.
Right? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
And at what level do you want to win?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to win, you have to be able to get your message
Right.
through to individuals. So you want to remove all of the barriers that will stop your message from being able to get delivered.
Okay.
And one of those barriers, as sad as it may be, as real as it is that when a mailer comes to someone's door, they look for certain things. Do I know this person? Do I recognize their name? What are they saying, right? And the true fact is that when a mailer comes to someone's door and the first thing they see is a black face, many people close it down. They don't even allow that message to get out.
Okay.
So how do we know that that's true? Let's look at it the reverse way. When you are running a negative campaign against someone,
Yep.
you put that black face on it. And let's look at the Georgia race.
Okay.
They not only ran the black face, they darkened the face to make it look even more demonic.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so you have to weigh those things that you can control to be able to determine if you can get your message out there.
Okay.
If you get your message to them, they receive your message, they have plenty enough time to say, I'm okay with her, regardless of whatever
Right.
shade she may be.
Right.
But those are real facts that we as African American people, when running for office, have to make that decision to look at when we're running. Regenia decided that I'm going to put my face on the information and I'm going to move it forward. And kudos to her for being true to who she is. But those are real factors that an individual of color
Okay.
has to decide when they decide to run for office.
Okay.
Is it right? It
And
shouldn't-
the
it
further
shouldn't
you
be.
go out,
The
the
worse
more
it
you
is.
really not. You know, you don't need to show your face.
But to your point, Sheila, and I think we'll pick this up, you know, the reason that I sort of wanted to sort of focus on the issues of women and then black women, because of the fact that, yes, if we bring in white men and white, you know, there's a whole other issue there. But the fact of the matter is that some of those issues about your physical appearance, use of negative campaigning, any women using it are not perceived the same way. How you look and what you're talking about when you do public speaking and debate. So again, what I am saying is there are lots of issues for women. And then, like I started this, there's the double standard
And
and,
there's
the
the
triple
triple
standard.
standard.
And what we're trying, because if we can't unpack everything. So I just want to, you know, emphasize that I don't think that the commonality of women and being women, being supportive, but also then what else on top of that for being black women. So like I said, this is the end of part 1. And Regina had the opportunity to answer this first set of questions.
Okay.
So this is going to be for you two. And it's the idea at the end of every And Good Company program, I ask guests the same 12 questions that French novelist Marcel Proust popularized from a Victorian parlor game. And they're believed to reveal your true nature. So, what is your favorite word, Sharon?
Faith.
Sheila?
Goodbye.
What is your least favorite word?
Hello.
Can't.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally, Sheila?
My mother.
What turns me on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Her birthday's tomorrow. She'll be 87.
Your
Huh?
mother?
Your mom
Wow.
will be 87 tomorrow? Wow, happy birthday, Mom. Creating. I think creating gives me the most joy, whether I'm creating art, whether I'm creating a passage to deliver from the Bible, whether I'm talking creativity is probably the one thing that gives me the greatest joy in seeing it work out.
And what turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I think mean, evil people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sheila?
What turns me off?
Yep.
Someone silent in the room. Silence. That kind of turns me off.
Really?
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
Conversation. Dialogue.
What sound or noise do you love?
Laughter. Oh, I love to see people laugh and happy.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Whining. Ooh, I can't stand it.
Ooh. What do I hate? That's
Sound
like
or noise?
a sound or noise. Somebody blowing their horn outside my door.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
What I would like to attempt. You know, I always wanted to do greeting cards, but I guess people don't send cards anymore. But
Sure they do. Yeah.
greeting cards. I always wanted to
Create them?
Create 'em?
to do Afrocentric
Card
you know,
line?
You know, what kind of
I
forever,
see
you
that
know
on
how I
you.
am.
I see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, the two of you could
Yeah.
collaborate there because you're
Yeah.
I'm at the
crafty.
watch your
I see
YouTube.
that.
Yeah.
What
see that.
profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I'd love to own a craft store, a brick and mortar craft store. I'd love to just help people pull out the creativity out of them.
And what profession would you not like to do?
I probably would not want to be in Wall Street.
Sheila?
Where not. It's a good one. I don't think I would want to work at a grocery store.
Okay. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement is just being alive.
Okay.
My greatest achievement would be my daughter.
And who, living or dead, would you most like to have a conversation with?
So I have a whole list
Okay.
of those. Currently at the top is Valerie Jarrett, and then right behind her is Michelle Obama. And I wish that I could have had a conversation with Maya Angelou.
Maya was at the top of my list. I would love to have a conversation with my siblings. I miss them all the time. I talk to them when I'm doing craziness, but just to be able, I mean, everybody's got a story.
Right.
I'm the baby of 6 and all 5 of my siblings are deceased. So
Wow.
having those conversations, that would be awesome.
Sure.
And Sheila, how would you like to die?
How would I like to die? Wow, in my sleep.
Okay.
Not thinking about it, that's for sure. I
All
don't want to die thinking about it.
Okay.
That's what I said in my sleep.
In my sleep.
Peacefully.
And
Peacefully.
if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done, my good and
Well
faithful
done.
servant.
Come on up a little higher. I know.
Wait. Come up a little higher.
Come on up a little higher. Yes. Job well done. Yes. Yes.
Well,
What I said.
I do not want to hear him say, go back. You
Yes.
ain't finished." Go on back,
Yes.
you ain't finished.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yes. No, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear job well done. You know, I speak it all the time. You know, let your work speak for yourself.
That's
you know,
right.
let your work just be that. Let your light shine. People will see you for who you are, what you do, and they will be. That's the greatest accomplishment it is for people to say to you. I mean, I have people on a regular basis, why are those Republicans on your page? Or why are, you know, my page is the most diverse Facebook page, I think. I look at all of my other friends to see how many blacks they have, do they have any Latinos? And sometimes I feel like I can measure people from that. If I'm the only black that's your friend, then you're probably really not my friend. You're just stalking or what is the word? Trolling? Facebook trolls? Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, Facebook trolls. So I think that's just a.
Well,
yeah.
at this point, I would like to say job well done for you all.
Thank you.
And we are going to continue this conversation because we're just really getting into it. So I want to thank you for that. And you can again join me next time when you can have a seat at the table for great conversation and good company.